Welcome back to Above the Clouds, the untold stories of aviation. I'm your host, and in our last episode, we explored how visionary corporate executives in the 1950s and 1960s first recognized that private aviation could be a powerful competitive weapon, transforming how business was conducted across the globe. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating engineering challenges in aviation history, the story of how aircraft designers took the raw power and speed of jet technology and transformed it into something entirely new. Aircraft designed not for military combat or mass transportation, but for the specific needs of business travelers who demanded luxury, comfort, and efficiency at 40,000 feet. This wasn't just about making jets smaller or more comfortable. The engineers who created the first business jets had to solve problems that had never been encountered before. How do you create a pressurized cabin that feels like a luxury office? How do you design engines that are powerful enough for jet performance, but quiet enough for conversation? How do you build an aircraft that can operate from short runways, but still fly across continents? I want you to imagine something for a moment. Picture yourself as an aircraft engineer in 1960, sitting at your drafting table with a blank sheet of paper. Your assignment is to design an aircraft that doesn't exist yet, a jet that can carry 6 to 8 business executives in luxury and comfort, fly at 500 miles per hour at altitudes above 40,000 feet, operate from runways too short for commercial aircraft, and do all of this with the reliability and efficiency that business use demands. Let's start our story with the man who would become known as the father of business aviation, Bill Lear. In the early 1960s, Lear was already a successful inventor and entrepreneur, known for developing the car radio and the autopilot system. But he was about to embark on his most ambitious project, creating the world's first mass-produced business jet. Lear's vision was revolutionary. He wanted to build a jet aircraft that would be as easy to operate as a luxury automobile, as comfortable as a first-class hotel suite, and as reliable as the most advanced commercial aircraft. But he wanted to do this in an aircraft small enough to land at thousands of airports that commercial jets couldn't reach. The engineering challenges were enormous. Commercial jets of the era were designed to carry hundreds of passengers on predetermined routes between major airports. Military jets were designed for speed and maneuverability in combat, but no one had ever tried to create a jet aircraft specifically optimized for the needs of business travelers. Lear assembled a team of engineers who had worked on both military and commercial aircraft, and he gave them a seemingly impossible assignment. He wanted an aircraft that could cruise at 500 miles per hour, climb to 40,000 feet in under 10 minutes, carry 6 passengers in luxury, and land on runways as short as 4,000 feet. But here's what made Lear's approach truly revolutionary. He didn't just want to build a smaller version of existing aircraft. He wanted to rethink every aspect of aircraft design from the perspective of the business traveler. What would the ideal business aircraft look like if you started with a clean sheet of paper and focused entirely on the needs of corporate executives? This customer-focused approach to aircraft design is exactly what we see in the best private aviation today. When we select aircraft for our clients, when we evaluate new technologies and capabilities, we're continuing the tradition that Bill Lear started, putting the passenger experience at the center of every design decision. The first major breakthrough in business jet design came with the development of the cabin. Commercial aircraft cabins were designed to maximize the number of passengers with minimal space for each seat. Military aircraft had no passenger comfort considerations at all. But business jet designers realized that the cabin was where their aircraft would succeed or fail. Let me explain the engineering challenge they faced. At 40,000 feet, the outside air pressure is less than 3 pounds per square inch, compared to nearly 15 pounds per square inch at sea level. The temperature outside is minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The cabin has to be a completely sealed, pressurized environment that maintains comfortable temperature, humidity, and air quality for hours at a time. But unlike commercial aircraft, where passengers are packed tightly together, business jet cabins needed to provide space for productivity, privacy, and comfort. Passengers needed to be able to work, hold meetings, and arrive at their destinations refreshed and ready for business. The solution was revolutionary for its time. Business jet designers created cabins that were pressurized to the equivalent of 8,000 feet or lower, even when flying at 45,000 feet. They developed advanced air conditioning systems that could maintain comfortable temperatures and humidity levels. They designed seating that could be configured for work, meetings, or rest. I want you to imagine stepping into one of these early business jet cabins for the first time. You're used to the cramped, noisy environment of commercial aircraft or the Spartan functionality of military planes. But suddenly you're in a space that feels more like a luxury office than an aircraft cabin. The seats are spacious and comfortable, the noise level is low enough for normal conversation, and the windows provide spectacular views of the world below. This focus on passenger experience and comfort is something we've continued to refine in modern private aviation. Today's business jets have cabins that would seem magical to those early designers, but the fundamental principle remains the same. The aircraft should serve the passenger, not the other way around. Now let's talk about the engines, because this is where business jet designers face some of their most complex challenges. Commercial jet engines were designed for maximum efficiency on long flights with heavy loads. Military jet engines were designed for maximum power and performance in combat situations. But business jets needed something different. Engines that were powerful enough for jet performance, but efficient enough for economical operation. The breakthrough came with the development of turbofan engines, specifically sized for business aircraft. These engines used a large fan at the front to move additional air around the combustion core, making them much more fuel efficient and significantly quieter than the pure jet engines used in military aircraft. But here's what made business jet engines truly revolutionary. They were designed to provide maximum performance during the climb and cruise phases of flight, when business travelers wanted to reach their cruising altitude quickly and cover ground efficiently. But they were also designed to be quiet and smooth during all phases of operation, ensuring that passengers could work and communicate effectively throughout the flight. Let me give you an example of how sophisticated this engineering became. The Pratt & Whitney JT-12 engine, which powered the early Learjets, produced 3,000 pounds of thrust while weighing only 600 pounds. That's a thrust-to-weight ratio that was unprecedented for civilian aircraft. But more importantly, it did this while operating quietly enough that passengers could hold normal conversations in the cabin. Think about what this means for your flying experience today. When you're sitting in a modern business jet, having a conversation or conducting a meeting while cruising at 500 miles per hour at 45,000 feet, you're benefiting from decades of engine development that began with those early business jet pioneers. The engines in today's business jets are even more sophisticated, providing greater power, better fuel efficiency, and lower noise levels than those early designers could have imagined. But the fundamental principle remains the same. The engine should provide the performance that business travel demands, while maintaining the comfort and quiet that productive flight requires. The aerodynamic design of business jets presented another set of unique challenges. Commercial aircraft were designed to be stable and predictable, optimized for long, straight flights between major airports. Military aircraft were designed for maneuverability and speed in combat situations. But business jets needed to combine the stability of commercial aircraft with the performance of military jets, while also being able to operate from shorter runways than either. The solution was a completely new approach to aircraft design. Business jet designers created aircraft with swept wings for high-speed efficiency, but with sophisticated high-lift devices that allowed them to land at slower speeds on shorter runways. They developed flight control systems that provided the stability needed for passenger comfort, while maintaining the responsiveness that pilots needed for precise operations. Let me tell you about one of the most innovative design features of early business jets: the T-tail configuration used on aircraft like the Learjet. By mounting the horizontal stabilizer at the top of the vertical tail, designers could keep it out of the turbulent air created by the wings and fuselage, improving both performance and passenger comfort. This T-tail design also allowed the engines to be mounted on the rear fuselage, which had several advantages for business aviation. It kept the engines away from the passenger cabin, reducing noise and vibration. It allowed the wings to be kept clean of engine installations, improving aerodynamic efficiency. And it provided easier access to the engines for maintenance, which was important for aircraft that needed to operate reliably with minimal downtime. I want you to appreciate how revolutionary this thinking was. These designers weren't just adapting existing aircraft configurations for business use, they were creating entirely new approaches to aircraft design based on the specific needs of business aviation. This innovative approach to design is something we see continuing in modern business aviation. Today's aircraft incorporate technologies and design features that would have seemed impossible to those early pioneers, but they're all focused on the same goal: providing the performance, comfort, and reliability that business aviation demands. Now let's talk about the interior design and luxury features that made business jets truly revolutionary. This wasn't just about making aircraft comfortable. It was about creating flying offices and meeting rooms that could maintain productivity at 40,000 feet. The challenge was enormous. How do you create a luxury environment in a space that's subject to turbulence, pressure changes, and the constant vibration of jet engines? How do you provide the amenities that business travelers need while keeping weight and complexity to a minimum? The answer was a complete rethinking of aircraft interior design. Business jet designers worked with furniture manufacturers, electronics companies, and luxury goods producers to create cabin environments that had never existed before. Let me paint a picture for you of what stepping into a 1960s business jet was like. The cabin was typically configured with 4 to 6 seats arranged to face each other, creating a meeting room environment. The seats were upholstered in fine leather and could swivel and recline for comfort. There was a fold-out table for meetings and meals, storage compartments for business documents and personal items, and even early communication systems that allowed passengers to stay in contact with their offices. But here's what made this truly revolutionary. These weren't just comfortable airline seats. They were designed specifically for business productivity. The lighting was optimized for reading and working. The table was sized and positioned for spreading out documents and conducting meetings. The storage was designed for briefcases, files, and business equipment. For the first time in aviation history, passengers could be as productive in the air as they were on the ground. They could hold meetings, review documents, make decisions, and conduct business while traveling at 500 miles per hour at 40,000 feet. This focus on productivity and business functionality is something we've continued to refine in modern private aviation. Today's business jets have capabilities that those early designers could never have imagined. High-speed internet, satellite communications, advanced entertainment systems, and cabin management systems that control every aspect of the passenger environment. But perhaps the most important engineering challenge that business jet designers faced was reliability. Commercial aircraft could afford occasional delays because they operated on published schedules with backup aircraft available. Military aircraft operated with extensive maintenance support and backup systems, but business jets needed to operate reliably with minimal support infrastructure, often at remote airports with limited facilities. This required a completely different approach to aircraft systems design. Every critical system needed backup systems. Maintenance requirements needed to be minimized. The aircraft needed to be able to operate safely, even if certain systems failed. The solution was revolutionary for its time. Business jet designers created aircraft with multiple backup systems for every critical function. They developed maintenance programs that could be performed at any airport with basic facilities. They designed systems that were both sophisticated enough to provide the performance that business aviation demanded and simple enough to be maintained reliably. Let me give you an example of how sophisticated this reliability engineering became. The Learjet 23 had dual hydraulic systems, dual electrical systems, and backup instruments for every critical flight function. If any single system failed, the aircraft could continue to operate safely and complete its mission. But more importantly, the aircraft was designed so that routine maintenance could be performed quickly and efficiently, minimizing downtime and ensuring that the aircraft was available when business travelers needed it. This focus on reliability and availability is crucial for business aviation today. When you schedule a flight for an important business meeting, you need to know that the aircraft will be ready, that it will perform as expected, and that you'll arrive at your destination on time and ready for business. The reliability standards established by those early business jet designers continue to guide everything we do in private aviation today. Every aircraft in our fleet meets or exceeds the most stringent reliability and safety standards, ensuring that our clients can depend on private aviation for their most important business needs. The success of the first business jets exceeded even the most optimistic predictions of their designers. The Learjet 23, which first flew in 1963, became an immediate success, with orders pouring in from corporations around the world. But more importantly, it proved that there was a substantial market for aircraft designed specifically for business use. This success sparked a revolution in aircraft design. Companies like Cessna, Beechcraft, and Gulfstream began developing their own business jets, each trying to solve the engineering challenges in different ways and appeal to different segments of the business aviation market. The Cessna Citation, which first flew in 1969, took a different approach than the Learjet. Instead of focusing on maximum speed and altitude, Cessna designed the Citation for ease of operation and access to smaller airports. It could be flown by a single pilot, it could operate from runways as short as 3,000 feet, and it was designed to be as simple and reliable as possible. The Gulfstream series took yet another approach, focusing on long-range capability and maximum passenger comfort. These aircraft were designed for intercontinental flights, with cabins that could accommodate meetings, meals, and even sleeping accommodations for extended flights. Each of these approaches solved the engineering challenges of business aviation in different ways, but they all shared the same fundamental philosophy. The aircraft should be designed around the needs of the business traveler, not the other way around. This diversity of approaches is one of the strengths of business aviation today. We can match our clients with aircraft that are specifically designed for their particular needs, whether that's maximum speed for time-sensitive travel, long range for international flights, or access to smaller airports for reaching remote destinations. As business jet technology matured through the 1970s and 1980s, designers continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. They developed more efficient engines, more sophisticated avionics, more comfortable cabins, and more reliable systems. But perhaps most importantly, they began to understand that business aviation wasn't just about transportation. It was about creating an environment that enhanced business productivity and effectiveness. This led to innovations like cabin management systems that allowed passengers to control lighting, temperature, and entertainment systems. Communication systems that kept business travelers connected to their offices and clients, and cabin layouts that could be reconfigured for different types of business activities. The engineering philosophy that emerged from this period continues to guide business jet design today. Every system, every feature, every design decision is evaluated based on how it serves the needs of business travelers. The question isn't just, can we build this? But, will this make business aviation more effective for our customers? Today's business jets incorporate technologies that those early designers could never have imagined. Fly-by-wire flight controls that make aircraft easier and safer to operate. Synthetic vision systems that allow pilots to see through clouds and darkness. Cabin pressurization systems that maintain sea-level pressure even at maximum altitude. High-speed internet and satellite communications that keep passengers connected anywhere in the world. But all of these advances are built on the foundation that those early business jet pioneers established. The understanding that aircraft should be designed to serve the specific needs of business travelers, and that engineering excellence should be focused on creating the most effective possible environment for business productivity. When you step aboard a modern business jet, you're experiencing the culmination of decades of engineering innovation that began with those early pioneers who dared to imagine that jet aircraft could be designed specifically for business use. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to appreciate the magnitude of what those early business jet engineers accomplished. They didn't just adapt existing aircraft for business use, they created an entirely new category of aviation technology. They solved engineering challenges that had never been faced before, and they did it with a focus on customer needs that was revolutionary for the aerospace industry. The Learjet 23, the Citation, the early Gulfstreams, these weren't just aircraft. They were proof that engineering excellence could be focused on creating the most effective possible tools for business success. They demonstrated that aviation could be more than just transportation. It could be a competitive advantage that transformed how business was conducted. Every time you experience the smooth, quiet, efficient operation of a modern business jet, you're benefiting from the engineering innovations that began in the 1960s with those early business jet pioneers. The pressurized cabin that keeps you comfortable at 45,000 feet, the engines that provide incredible performance while remaining quiet enough for conversation, the systems that operate reliably flight after flight. These are all the result of engineering excellence that was focused on serving the needs of business travelers. But more than that, you're experiencing the continuation of an engineering philosophy that puts the customer at the center of every design decision. When we select aircraft for our clients, when we evaluate new technologies and capabilities, when we plan flight operations, we're continuing the tradition that those early business jet engineers established. The next time you're flying privately, take a moment to appreciate not just the luxury and convenience, but the engineering excellence that makes it all possible. You're experiencing the result of decades of innovation by engineers who understood that aviation could be more than just transportation. It could be a tool for business success. Next time on Above the Clouds, we'll explore how private aviation evolved from a business tool into a status symbol, and how the cultural significance of private jets began to influence everything from business success to popular culture. We'll discover how aviation transformed from practical transportation into the ultimate expression of achievement and lifestyle. We'll meet the individuals and companies who understood that private aviation wasn't just about getting somewhere faster. It was about making a statement about success, capability, and the freedom to live and work on your own terms. Until then, remember that every time you experience the engineering excellence of modern private aviation, you're participating in the continuation of one of the most remarkable engineering achievements in human history, the transformation of raw jet power into the sophisticated, luxurious, and reliable aircraft that serve business travelers around the world today. This has been Above the Clouds, the untold stories of aviation. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time, Above the Clouds.